And we are live. So, welcome back to yet another episode of The Royals on the Road. Today marks the 25th episode of this podcast. And wow, it has been that long, huh? We've really come a long way, completing a quarter of a century with this. And I hope we play a long and impactful innings as we go ahead for another century. What an amazing week of cricket we've had. From history being created on the field, irrespective of not only formats but also genders. And with less than 5 days remaining for perhaps modern cricket's greatest series to unfold, there's simply a lot on our plate to discuss. Joining us, our guests for tonight, we have Mr. Vivek Sethia, the founder and CEO of India on Track. Hello, Vivek. Glad to have you with us.
Thank you. Hi.
We also have a technical geek fascinated more by sports. His words, not mine. The project lead at The Bridge and a childhood friend of mine, Tosif Ahmed. Welcome, Tosif.
Thank you, thank you. That was more good description. I've never thought of that. Thank you.
Really genuine. We'll also have some familiar faces joining us later tonight, but let's get the ball rolling. Now, what a historic week this has been, right? From the start, we've had our under 19 girls make the country proud and finally getting an ICC silverware in the trophy cabinet. If it was couples devils back in 1983 who created a revolution for the sport in this country, this time it's Shefali's showstoppers who could be accredited with the same for giving the nation finally a taste of glory in women's cricket. Tosif, coming to you primarily because you cover this area in the bridge. Describe the journey of India establishing itself as a giant in women's cricket. There were too many almost there moments during this path, and we have had some legends of the game who had to retire without having an ICC trophy under their name. Now that we finally have one, how do you see this journey ahead for us?
And I think, to be honest, it has been a pretty long journey, and we are getting the dues finally of all the effort that these legends have put in. As you rightly mentioned, they may have retired, but their contribution to cricket as a whole in India is immense. It goes beyond any format in specific. I think, but like for me, this revolution started back in 2020, I'll say, with I think the T20 World Cup Women's, where we almost won every match in the tournament. The semi-final was a washout, I think, versus England, but then we were just outplayed by Australia in the final, right? So I think that was a moment where Indian cricket, in general, had to take a stance on where they were looking forward to go. And after that, if you see in 2021 and 2022, in general, we have been touring mainly the SENA countries, right? With Australia, New Zealand. And we have been beaten many times. That is irrespective of that. But the right approach needs to be put in when it comes to um, building a foundation. The right approach needs to be there. So, in that aspect, I'll say there's a whole new dimension in women's cricket, especially T20 cricket. There was a lot of talk about Richa Ghosh and Shafali Verma being included in the Under 19 World Cup because they have played international cricket also. But a silverware is like very important to Indian cricket right now, and this shows, right? All the talks that have been going on around women's cricket in the last 5 days in general, or the attention that the players have been getting, recognition that they have been getting, it's very important as a whole to elevate the entire community, not just any particular player. And I think this entire thing or revolution isn't just achieved in one day, right? So like the head coach of the under 19 World Cup, Nushan Al Khadir, was the part of the 2005 Women's World Cup, and now like life has come again, whole comes to a full circle. She has won it, and now like today, I think Lucknow, the franchisee for Lucknow announced her with Haynes as their coach. So they are getting recognition, not just recognition from the outside or words in particular. They're getting roles to develop Indian cricket as a whole. I think that is very important, and that will go a long way.
Quite rightly said. Back in 2007, when MS Dhoni lifted the inaugural ICC T20 World Cup, it sort of kickstarted a revolution in the shortest format with the launch of the IPL the very next year. The rest, as they say, was history. Now, there is a similar pattern that can be noticed here with the women's IPL just around the corner. Vivek, coming to you, how much do you think this under 19 World Cup victory will impact the average Indian cricket fan in general and the BCCI in particular to make future investments in women's cricket?
I think I think it's definitely. I don't think it's going to make an impact. I think the impact was already being created as in the last few years. BCCI made a decision to definitely make an investment in women's cricket, not only from a perspective of the senior team, but also in the youth. See, one thing you have to give a lot of credit to BCCI is the grassroots system, right? What has evolved in the last 15 years is, if there is a player out there who is good and who can play for India, BCCI will find a way to find that player. And this was not the case many, many years ago. And that transformation, I mean, we all talk about the money and how it's commercial and all that. But let's see where this money is being used. So, I mean, we've honored our legends, we've invested in our youth, we've invested in the infrastructure, we've invested in the women's sport, we have invested in creating strong leagues. And so I think the under 19 World Cup victory is more of an outcome of all these investments over the last many years, rather than just a kick-starting of it. Now, of course, it adds to the momentum, no doubt about it. Silverware, ICC tournament, coinciding with the launch of Women's Indian Premier League. Interest in women's cricket is increasing. I mean, I'll take an example of myself. I love watching the sport, but 7, 10 years ago, I wasn't as keen in watching the women's sport as I am today. Like the some of the players are household names, and I think the women's IPL will add to this for sure. So I think we've kind of kickstarted a new movement in Indian sport, in Indian cricket, and I think it will continue to become better.
Absolutely, absolutely. Welcome, Mayank. As we mentioned, a familiar Super Royal face is always going to be there. How are you doing?
Yeah, all good, all good. How all are you doing?
We're doing fine. Glad to have you with us. And rightly said, Vivek sir. The IPL has always been a platform where talent has met opportunity. Like, we do hope that the women's IPL, it provides a solid foundation to the growth of Indian women's cricket, and we're pretty sure that it will add that extra bit of excitement and entertainment, given the fact that our domestic talents will now share the platform with international stars. We're almost a fortnight away from the inaugural women's IPL auction, and with over 1,000 names registered, there's a lot of buzz that's going around. This is an open question to the panel. Any one of you can choose to answer. Who do you guys think will definitely get the highest bid in the first ever season? You guys can take the lead.
Oh man, I think Smriti will probably get the highest in my view. She's flamboyant. She's a great player. She's kind of the Indian. She takes the Indian flag. But of course, there's. I think the beauty is not about the highest bid. The beauty is about the depth this creates for Indian women's squad. If you look at a good 100 to 120 players, and then of course all the developmental players who will actually be playing at that level, I think that's where the beauty lies, and I think that will start impacting the national team performances as well. But Smriti is my vote.
Absolutely. Bangalore would love to have another number 18 as their captain, right? Tosif, your take?
I'll just go like particularly same answer. I don't think there will be anyone other than Smriti Mandana to get a highest bid. Like just for the records, but as a player, as an individual, she has contributed enough to get this, right? So definitely she deserves it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Mayank, your choice?
Since they have said Smriti Mandana, I would say maybe someone like Elise Perry or maybe Tahila McGrath as well. Given Perry brings that all-round value to the team and how well Tahila McGrath have done in T20 in the last year. So maybe, but obviously if we see an Indian, then Smriti Mandana and maybe Deepti Sharma as well because of a bowling.
Absolutely. Exciting times ahead for us and exciting times for women's cricket in India. Well, it's uh, it's sort of bad for us as Royals fan because we won't be able to see a franchisee take the field in our colors. But personally, as a Manchester United fan, I'm just happy that the Glazers have managed to stay out of this. But jokes apart, moving on to the recently concluded India versus New Zealand T20 series, which the home side won quite comfortably at Ahmedabad. What a match that was! The Gujarat Titans duo of Hardik and Gill were simply too good against the Aussies. Coming to you, Mayank, how good was has Shubman Gill been over the years? A 23-year-old who got his first international century just a couple of months back, and now in February 2023, not only has he got a double hundred under his name in ODIs, but he has centuries in all three formats. It just makes you wonder what other heights he'll scale in this year, right? Your thoughts on this
Yeah.
special young talent?
Definitely. I mean, Shubman Gill, we all know since his under 19 days, he's a great talent, and obviously he's showing it now. And a funny thing I read somewhere that day that Adam Akram is 29 and he's still trying to find his, like he's a known player, but he's still trying to find his feet in all the format. But there is Shubman Gill, just 23 and doing it in all the formats. So obviously going forward, it's good from the Indian team perspective. So at least they've got a player that who can do well in all the three formats.
Absolutely. As they say, Gil hai ki manta hi nahi. We also saw Hardik Pandya, the captain, contributing wherever possible. It certainly helps if you have an all-rounder as a captain, I guess, and somebody like Hardik, who is quite a team man, who probably wants to lead by example wherever possible. He's taken up a new role this time, of that of a power play bowler, and he usually tries to bowl all 4 overs of his quota. However, sometimes perhaps it comes at a cost of underbowling others, as we saw with Chahal, who bowled only 2 overs after taking a wicket maiden. Tosif, based on this series, how do you rate Hardik's captaincy and what are your thoughts about him leading us in the next T20 World Cup?
Well, to be honest, here as a captain, I think you have to speak with your performances on the field in order to make your teammates follow you. And I think Hardik has done that pretty well. He has changed gears from what his role was as a Gujarat Titans captain, where he was playing the anchor. And now in the Indian team, his role is more of a finisher, especially in the T20 side, right? So now that he's doing this role, he tries to put in his all. And since this T20 format cannot be like, you cannot go by averages, you cannot go by statistics all the time, but he has shown that he can be so crucial in clutch matches and important situations. He has proved that. And I think the most standout thing that comes to me in Hardik's captaincy will be like just getting out on the field, get the ball and just bowl the first over. I think that is one of the main things, because many people questioned about his pace, many things. There are a lot of things, but to just go out and show that this is a young team, this is a young team who plays an aggressive brand of cricket, which the T20 format and the modern format demands, and to show that, put it out on the field, you have to acknowledge that and appreciate that. So I think we still have another year in hand for the next T20 World Cup, and seeing how things are going at this particular moment, where Indian cricket is not focusing on the core of the team to be the same in all the three formats. There are players obviously who play all the three formats, but they are trying to develop an approach with specialist players in their positions, which I think is very necessary in T20 cricket. So it's a good way, it's a good approach. The results will speak in the future, but I don't think the results are to be judged on the basis of just 2 years or something, because when we take such an approach, or start a cycle like this, we have to stand by this approach for a pretty long time. So these changes will reflect, these will provide results, but we have to wait for some time, I think, to show them.
Absolutely, absolutely. T20, as they say, is a format which primarily suits the youth. And, we've seen some young, exciting talents take the field in the Indian jersey in the last few T20 series that we ended up playing. However, a question that keeps on lingering: is this the end of the road for our our superstars? Basically, they're not yet former. At least they haven't retired from the format yet. Is this the end of the road for guys like Rohit Sharma or Virat Kohli? And I'm pretty sure that this team can do with a bit of experience, because we saw that there was the opening, at least it didn't really seem very stable until the last match. Of course, even then also Ishan Kishan got out very cheap. And of course you can't write off a player like Virat Kohli. So your thoughts on this, Vivek? You think there's a chance that they can make a comeback, or do they fit in this side?
It might sound controversial, and sometimes when you look at what all Virat and Rohit have done for our country, it's almost suicidal to say that they should not be playing in any format. But I really feel like we need a refresh. Like, I think, firstly, this whole concept of resting players almost throughout the years and changing and switching is just not doing any good to our to the T20 side. I think there's just too much instability. If I think the first thing is that if they are playing the next World Cup, let them play all matches. Let's get a consistent 11 in. Let's focus on that, and that's what I like. Going back to Hardik, that's what I like about him as a captain. He has clear thinking. He's okay to experiment, but he's looking for a vision for the next 24 months or whatever that might be. Now, whether he gets that kind of luxury or not, we don't know. But coming back to Virat and Rohit, I genuinely feel that they have a lot to contribute in ODIs and also in Test cricket to some extent, and maybe they should focus on that. I do understand that we need experience, but we still have younger players who might have 3, 4, 5 years of experience who still might be able to bring in that experience for us. So my vote is that we focus on the youth. We have such exciting talent, in the pipeline. Let's leverage them. We have a year and a half before the next World Cup. Let's experiment with a few good players. Get the squad right by the end of this year, and then one good year play with that squad, and hopefully bring glory next year.
That's an interesting take. Absolutely. Staying with the T20s, today we saw Perth Scorchers lift their fifth Big Bash title and equal Mumbai Indians as the most successful T20 franchise in the world. I suppose it's quite an effort, especially when your 12th man is in the umpire himself, unlike some franchises, but we move on. Well done, Perth, and shout out to former Royals Andrew Ty and Ashton Turner for this victory. Elsewhere in the Southern Hemisphere, the South African T20 League is back after a short international break. As PAL Royals fans, we are a bit tense because of our last match versus the Johannesburg Super Kings, which was abandoned midway. We still have one more match left versus table toppers Pretoria Capitals, and the playoff scenario is quite a bit intense. Mayank, what do you think should be our approach for the final game of the league, given that it's a do or die scenario for us?
I mean, like, obviously, it was not good that the match was washed out, but I guess Pal Royals is still in a very good position to qualify. And I guess there has been a bit of, I mean, it's my personal feeling that there has been a lack of clarity in the role of some players. Like, I don't know why Corbin Bosch is still not playing, or Van Buren doesn't even come, and even Ian Morgan played so well and still he was dropped. So I mean, I am feeling that they are like still experimenting in certain with certain players. So I guess if in the last match they go with their best 11, play their best cricket, so I mean there shouldn't be any problem for them to qualify.
Absolutely, and we do hope that the PAL Royals do well, and we do hope to see them in the playoffs. Finally, moving on to the much awaited discussion for tonight. One of modern cricket's greatest rivalry unfolds next week. I say one off because it's not Bangladesh versus Sri Lanka, but the intensity and hype is just as much. Jokes apart, what a cracker of a contest awaits us in Nagpur. India, perhaps the most dominant home team to have played Test cricket since the last decade, take on the mighty Aussies who are coming after a successful home season but seek redemption for the previous encounters down under. I suppose, based on ability at least, if there is any team that can possibly give India a hard time at home, it could be the Aussies. They have left no stone unturned, brought a plethora of spinners with them, and even practiced with a bowler who has a similar action as that of Ravichandran Ashwin. And based on Yan Healy's recent comments, the white noise is back on. Tosif, coming to you. Is this perhaps Rohit Sharma's biggest test as a red ball captain? And what are the areas do you think the Aussies could be very lethal against us?
I think definitely this is till now Rohit's best challenge as a test captain, because the Aussies come in with a lot of, they are the table toppers in the WTC, right? Um, they come in with a great balance of both spin and pace. Their batting is just impeccable, like not even mentioning that. So it would take a lot for Rohit, and what people have questioned about the aggressive brand or the approach that Kohli had, that allowed us to dominate in home conditions by a huge margin, right? No one can deny that. So to see that what happens in the home conditions will be Rohit's biggest test up until now when it comes to the test format. And coming to the next one about Australia's biggest asset in this, or the surprise, I think their spin lineup will be one thing that I'll look out for. And I think they're practicing on these rank turners already, to get a drift of what will happen or what awaits them. But at the same time, I think that surprises may come in from the Indian side as well. So I think at the present moment, the Indian pace bowling lineup is one of the most lethal that awaits. And with Mohammad Siraj in this kind of form, Umesh Jadhav and Mohammad Shami, I think it'll be a force to reckon with, definitely. But at the same time, it will be very crucial for the Australian batsmen to keep their calm and test it out on the field, how they approach the bowlers, not any particular spin or pace, but just stay out on the crease, not get swayed away by, say, baseball or anything. Because when you come to India, you have to play with a modest and a moderate kind of cricket. So, not mixing the two, they have to have their approach clear on how to win matches or draw them even. India has to win matches rather. Australia can draw them also. So, yeah, looking forward to that. There will be very testing conditions, and this is one of the most hyped and awaited tournaments, I think, that uh, we will witness in the last 2 years.
Absolutely, absolutely. You can drop down your series prediction in our comment section. And as Super Royal Jehan Dhabar has already said, let's go 4-0 India. Yes, that's what we'll be hoping for. I think Manav says 3-0. Why, Manav? Why one test down? I mean, it's crucial for us, crucial points for the World Test Championship as well. Sanchit gives Australia a chance. I think Sanchit probably would, given the jinx that you can do for us, you would probably reverse the score line, but we'll take it anyway. Interesting comments that you have sent us till now, and we hope to get a lot more. Uh, you know, India themselves also do have a few issues to sort out. The man who lifted the trophy last time these two teams had met, Ajinkya Rahane, he himself will not be a part of this series. Jasprit Bumrah himself is nursing an injury and has been ruled out. Rishabh Pant, of course, due to the recent accident, will also be missing out. Our prayers to him for his speedy recovery. I guess Shreyas Iyer too might miss out on the first game. I think he also has an injury to deal with. So there are a few names in the Indian squad who could make their debut this series. Speaking of some of them, Vivek, who would you pick ahead between Ishan Kishan and KS Bharat as the man behind the stumps for us? And also, do you think the batting will require the services of a white ball specialist like Surya Kumar Yadav?
See, that's a tough one. I think in terms of keeping what I mean, I would say I have a slight edge for Ishan Kishan. For me personally, I do feel like it'll be long and intense series. So one um, Rishabh Pant type knock can change the kind of scope of any test match. And I think Ishan Kishan will bring that to the table. That unpredictability factor, that one session post lunch can be like a good 150 runs. So I mean, I'm a big fan of Bharat, and I would love if he's picked. But I just have a feeling that Ishan Kishan might actually get the nod. Now, Surya is a tricky one, right? So it's a little bit of a coin toss. I don't believe that he would start the first one, first test, and we'll see how how our batting progresses and see if he can come in. Of course, with all he's done in the last 12 months or so, he deserves a slot. He deserves to be tested. He deserves to be seen what he brings to the table. And also similar to what I said for Ishant, I think Ishan Kishan, I think it's that X factor that Surya brings in can really be a game changer. I think there'll be these patches of very hard fought spin battles against the Aussies, and I think to break that pattern, we'll need a couple of these knocks. So again, I would love to see Surya come in, but I do feel like he'll be probably rested. As far as prediction is concerned, I don't think there'll be a draw in this series. So I would go for a clean sweep for India, 4-0.
That's a great prediction to have. Draws, of course, in Border Gavaskar Trophy have in the recent past have been very few, but the ones that we got were really exciting encounters, and especially no one can
Correct.
forget that Hanuma Vihari and Ravichandran Ashwin partnership. The red ball with the searing pace of the Australian quartet of an attack, and it was just amazing. So this is an open question to the panel. Drop in your favorite Border Gavaskar Trophy moments, the ones that you have cherished forever. Mayank, you want to go ahead?
Uh, for me, it has to be Steve Smith's century at Pune in 2017. Not because just because of the fact that no one was expecting Australia to fight that way, and Steve Smith single-handedly fought for Australia, and they managed to win that match. So I mean, that was actually the start of that great series. That was really something which was not expected at that time, and Steve Smith was their main man, and he absolutely stood up then.
Absolutely, and back then he was, of course, a Royals player. I mean, he just shifted his base to Pune, but he was always there in our hearts. So yeah, I mean, even though it wasn't something that the Indian fan in me would appreciate, but as a lover of the game, and as a fan of Smith, it was something which was quite a brilliant innings. Tosif, your pick?
I think if I have to pick in the entire history, it will be the 2001 moment in Kolkata. But in recent times, I will go back to Hanuma Vihari and Ashwin. It wasn't a win-win, but it was a win. Ultimately, in the end, it was a win. We did, and that actually set it up perfectly for Gaba, where we had broken the confidence of the Aussies entirely. They were down under in that last match. So I think that will be our my like favorite moment. And we also saw what Hanuma Vihari did 2 days back, a similar kind of role. What it is a fighter out there. He is. I love him as a test player. He gives in his all when he's out on the field, expresses himself. He's not that guy who is or very concerned about his playing position also. He talks that to his captain, whatever role they offer him, he tries to fulfill that. So that is a very important thing as a player and a batsman that you have to do. So that will be my favorite moment in recent times from the Border Gavaskar Trophy. And as my prediction for this series, I'll go with a 4-0 to India. Yeah, it can't be any other way. It can't be.
Quite right. Talking about Hanuma Vihari, he had a wonderful innings against. I think he played for Andhra, in the Ranji quarterfinals, and it was a very impactful innings, and I even saw him bat left-handed and probably hit a shot with just one hand. It was a true show of determination and grit. India has, of course, just announced this squad for just for the first two tests. Do you think that if the batting doesn't respond well, do you think there could be an inclusion for Hanuma Vihari, or maybe any other batsman that you would like to think of, probably an Abhimanyu Ishwaran or somebody else? Any one of you can go for it.
Yeah, I can try to take that. Yeah, I mean that's the there is definitely scope for Hanuma to come in, but I do feel that we have enough firepower in this. Like we have a great combination of like people who can just gut it out there, play those hard sessions and the flair. I do feel like we'll do well straight from the first test from Nagpur coming on to Delhi. So I don't see too many changes in the squad. I really hope we can go with what Tausif also said, 4-0.
I think the one major inclusion, like that is a force changed kind of. But when Shreyas Iyer comes back to the side, he'll be a impact player throughout. Like from his first match, we can expect that, and he has been doing that in the Test format and the ODI format, like for like consistent basis for the last 1 year, right? So we can expect that, especially versus spin in these intense sessions where two bowlers just bowl out their spells and you have to either defend it or score those quick runs to narrow down those little margins. So I think he'll come in very handy, and we can just pray and hope that he recovers as fast as he can.
Absolutely, absolutely. Spin is, of course, going to be a crucial factor, and I think somebody even mentioned in the comment section that the biggest contest in the series is going to be Lion versus Ashwin. I think Lion's final frontier is India, and Ashwin. For him, this is his home ground. He's the Jaykant Shikre here, so he will, of course, try to dominate as much as possible. Moving on from batting, I was actually going for the spin that we'll probably see in the upcoming matches. You know, the test matches are scheduled in pitches which are traditionally spin friendly, right? There's Nagpur, there's Delhi, there's Himachal Pradesh, and of course there's Ahmedabad, right?
Ahmedabad.
So, who do you think, like, what should be India's approach going into these tests? Like, I suppose there will be a three spinner approach that we will end up trying. And if that happens, who do you think should be the third spinner after Ashwin and Jadeja? We have Kuldeep and Aksar. So, your pick?
I would definitely go with Kuldeep. I think we have enough batting out there to not worry about having a little bit of edge on the batting side. I think we need a proper spinner. Kuldeep can do that. Of course, no uh, disrespect to Aksar. He's done well recently. But I think Kuldeep as a proper spinner, and actually Kuldeep has started batting a little well as well. Like he's worked on his batting as well, but proper spinner, played Kuldeep. We have Jadeja in general, and also the variation that he brings from the other two spinners. So all three will have a different dimension to bring in. And from that perspective, Aksar is a little similar to when he's not that special, that great just from the spinning perspective. He's more of an all rounding option. So I would go with Kuldeep.
Right. Mayank, what's your take on this?
For me, I guess the third spinner should be Akshar, De- just because of his form, what he has done in the past 1 year in Test, and obviously given that also Jadeja is coming back after an injury. He has played one Ranji game, but he's still coming back after an injury. And also, I guess somewhere it depends on what kind of pitches do we get, because in the over the past few years, what I have felt that India's batting against spin has also gone down, because we saw Joe Root coming and taking 5 wickets. So it's not something that, and Australia is wary of that, and that's why they have bought so many spinners. So maybe depends. I mean, if India goes on a very, I mean, we get a very spin friendly pitch. I mean, India will go with three spinners. Australia does have many spinners as well. They will play Leon. They have Head, Labuschagne, Smith. Everyone bowls. Even they have Renshaw also. So, for if we talk from India's perspective, then or regarding this question, I guess my pick would be Akshar. But I guess India's batting also needs to be wary of the spin challenge of Australia.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was just going through the comments section, and I think somebody mentioned Usman Khwaja, who was, who was almost like a wall in the Pakistan series that Australia played last year. He was very difficult to get out, and I guess he likes batting against subcontinent opponents, and he's a good player of spin. He knows how to use his feet, and that is going to be crucial. That is something which we expect from Shreyas Iyer. That is something which he gives to Australia, Usman Khwaja. So yeah, I think that is going to be a crucial factor that we Indians must keep in mind. There's also another area of concern for us, our opening slot. I think it can be said that obviously Rohit Sharma, the captain, I mean he has to open. Who do you think opens alongside him? Is it KL Rahul? Is it Shubman Gill? And if KL Rahul doesn't get to open, how low should he come down? Like, should he play in place of Shreyas Iyer in the first match? If that is the case, what are your thoughts, guys? Joseph, you can start.
Yeah, I'll
Take
take
this.
that. I think with the recent form of Shubman, he is more confident than ever to open the innings. So I have no doubts in my mind with Shubman opening along with Rohit, and they are a good combination also. KL, when it comes to KL Rahul, he's an excellent batsman when it comes to like recent performances. When he has gone down the order, he has actually performed very well. So there is an issue with a little bit of confidence when it comes to KL Rahul. So if he is given that little bit of extra time, if he comes down at number five after say Kohli, it will be like interesting to see KL Rahul in that position. Also, like another thing that is related to the previous question, also kind of, I think this number five and number six slot is going to be a little varied in my opinion, because Jadeja's inclusion will be mostly concerned with the bat, because he has performed very well, especially against spin, right? And when it comes to Akshar Patel, it can be said the quite opposite. He has performed brilliantly with the ball when it comes to test matches in India. So won't be much of a surprise if four spinners go along. Okay, it's not that, yeah. I'll say they can with Jadeja like coming little before stabilizing the innings with say a Kohli or a Pujara, and then finding the rhythm along the way as they go down the order. So these all-round options are there for India at the present moment. They can utilize them to their like best, but I think like at this present moment the Shubman versus KL debate shouldn't be there when it comes to the opening slot, because both in their respective positions, like when it comes to Gill opening, he's a much better performer, and when it comes to KL coming down the order, he's a much better performer. So the balance is there. You just need to just accept it.
I liked how you mentioned, we might end up playing four spinners, and I think the last time it probably happened was way back when Bishan Singh Bedi, Chandrasekhar, and Erapalli Prasanna, I think they used to bowl, because that was the famous quartet that we had. We had the quartet of spin, and it would gobble up opposition batting lineups every time they came in subcontinental pitches. But yeah, I mean, we can actually end up sacrificing one batsman to fit in three all rounders, because let's not forget our spinners, most of them at least, are also all rounders. So we can actually accommodate that. So that is probably a very well point that you made. Also, regarding Australia, and this is something which I think recently David Warner made a point. I mean, they are coming after a long tour. I mean, long home series, right? There's the Big Bash also, in which the players had been a part of, and it's obvious that there will be a sense of fatigue and exhaustion. Especially, I think David Warner said that he would much rather have some time with his family before going on to the series. So, how much of, I mean, how do you think that this is going to be a crucial factor for Australia? Because it's an away series, it's alien conditions for them, it's a long series ahead as well. So, what are your take on this? I mean, how is this going to impact Australia?
I think that was a great Freudian slip, not saying coming back but complaining. That's a great one. I think the mind games have already started before the series has started. So yeah, but really don't think that the players will have a problem with adjusting to that, because let's not fool ourselves by saying that Australia haven't prepared for this for a long time. They have when it comes to specialist players like Usman Khwaja or say Labuschagne, they have been preparing for this exact moment for a very, very long time, maybe like throughout their whole careers, to come in India at this moment. It's a decider series for India. So the pressure is on India rather. So to come out to express themselves, they have come prepared. So let's see what the results hold out. Then we can see what the players' reactions are.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think Vivek sir's connection has probably dropped, which is why he's not on the call right now. Okay, he's back.
Sorry.
Yep. Yeah, we were missing you.
Sorry, it's
Jehan
some
Dhab.
internet. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. Jehan Dhabar writes that will Jadeja be fit to play all 4 games? Yes, absolutely. I mean, he's coming after a long injury, and it is quite a concern whether he will be able to play all 4 games. He's also noticed that there has been a change in his bowling action. I guess, like Tosif had mentioned before, Jadeja, the batsman, might just end up being a more crucial factor against the Aussies than Jadeja, the bowler. I think he averages highest with the bat against spin in the last few years. If you look at the Indian track record, it's a bit unconventional given the fact that our batting boasts of people like Pujara and Kohli, but this is how it is. So yeah, I think. Maybe I'm not sure whether he will be able to bowl long spells or whether Rohit will give him long spells, given the fact that we also have a plethora of spinners to choose from. But I think he will definitely be tried for all the games. So yep, that's how it is going to go. Jehan also writes that it's high time we've had a fast bowling all rounder in tests who could just be a backup, who could be a backup just in case we need an extra pace bowler. Personally, I don't think that it is going to be an issue because, again, these 4 pitches that we are playing on, it doesn't really seem that there will be an issue with fast bowling. But yeah, it's a good question. It's a valid question. So, open question to you guys. Who do you think can possibly be that all round option for us and be a consistent all round option for us in red ball? Anyone?
There are just two options at this moment. There's Hardik and there's Shardul Thakur. When it comes to Test cricket, Shardul has been performing in recent times. Hardik has been out of the format. He's focusing on white ball, so that is justified. I think Shardul, if he gets the opportunity, he will prove himself. But as you said, rightly mentioned, I don't think there will be the need of that to particularly come in and show the skill sets that he possesses. But yeah, that's a valid question.
All right, then, an exciting contest lies ahead. The Border Gavaskar Trophy has been so memorable for us in the last few years, and as Indian fans, it has simply given us so many memories which we can cherish. We've reached almost at the end of this program, so we have this last segment where we ask you guys to pick the most impactful player from either side for the first test at Nagpur. So, again, the panel is open for you. Who do you think can be the most impactful player from either side for the first test at least?
For India, I would go with Ashwin. I think he'll have instant impact. I also envisage the first innings, him playing a critical role. India is typically not very good starters with the bat in the first match of every series, so I do see kind of the lower batting order contributing. So I would say Ashwin from India.
Right. And Australia?
Oof. I hate to say it, but I think Steve Smith's going to make an impact here. I do see a lot of resilient batting from his side. So those would be my first two in the first test.
Absolutely, absolutely. Tosif, what about you?
I think I'll go with Ashwin or Kuldeep in the first match if Kuldeep plays. Uh, but if he plays, I think he'll create an impact right away because he has carried his form in the ODI and T20. So he'll be like looking forward to continuing his rhythm in the test format also. In Australia, I'll say I'll go with again two choices. Labuschagne or Nathan Lyon. I think these two. With the bat, I think Labuschagne has the first real task that awaits him after his heroics that he did in England. So this will be another platform for him to showcase his skills. And great players often prove themselves that they are the greatest when they perform at the highest stages. So I'll look out for Labuschagne. And when we are talking about greatest, let's include Nathan Lyon and Ashwin. Simple,
Yes, the goat.
the goats.
Absolutely. I think, one of the crucial tests for Labuschagne will be, showing resilience against a formidable spin attack that India has, especially in these conditions. So, yeah, I mean, he's probably ranked number one in the ICC test rankings, batsman. And, if he wants to justify that, which he will, I guess, he might just be the biggest problem for India right ahead in the series. Mayank, your picks?
For India, it obviously has to be Ashwin because if he doesn't bowl well, then I don't know what will happen. For Australia, I guess Steve Smith is definitely one. But other player I am thinking that might be crucial is Travis Head because he comes down the order, lower middle order, and he tries to attack the kind of a similar role what Pant plays for India. So he might play a crucial role for Australia in this series.
Absolutely, Travis Head. I think Australian batting lineup. This might just be the strongest batting lineup Australia is bringing in India after a long, long time. Apart from David Warner, who doesn't really have he doesn't really have a good record here. I think Usman Khwaja probably will open alongside him. There's Labuschagne at three, Smith at four, Head bats at five. Of course, Ashwin's words were that Tim Paine's last series would be in India. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen, but that's on them. Well, there we have it. The word is out from the Royals on the road that Ashwin Anna, we are banking on you. So hopefully you deliver as you always do for us. And that's pretty much it from our side this week on the Royals on the road. Uh, Vivek and Tosif, thank you so much for joining us this week, and we hope to have you guys for more such episodes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for
Absolutely.
calling me.
Thank you for having
Our
us. Yeah.
absolute honor to like share the panel with you guys. The insights that every one of you shared. It's great. It's great.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Mayank,
you.
thank you
Thanks
so
so much.
much for sharing your thoughts, opinions, and insights. And a special round of thanks to all those who sent us their comments during the podcast. It's really been great. Don't forget to like and share this video. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe to our channel. Follow us on our social media handles in Twitter and Instagram. Don't miss out on the interesting content and the amazing contests that we constantly bring you. In case you are not aware, we have launched a fan army campaign to unite Royals fans across the country. So come together to cheer for your favorite team, participate in conversations about all things Royal, and maybe get a chance to feature on our Royals on the Road show. Our Super Royals family is getting bigger, and you can grab this opportunity once you're registered on the link that's given in the description of this video. That's it from my side. Here's Super Royal Upayan signing off. May everyone have a brilliant Sunday and a wonderful week ahead. And hopefully, our boys in pink show true royal spirit in South Africa and qualify for the playoffs. Also, shout out to the men in blue, and hopefully, they manage to retain the prestigious Border Gavaskar trophy at home. As they say in Parl, let's bring the keys like royals. As they say in Rajasthan, Halla Bol. And as every Indian fan would say, Jai Hind. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
See
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you.